Hey, I'm Claire,
And I'm Janice.
and this is The X-Files, a podcast about breakups, broken hearts, and moving on.
We are breakup coaches here to help you beat your breakup
Heal your broken heart.
and move on to an amazing, abundant life. Hello, welcome to another episode of X-Files and another episode from our guest interview series that we are just absolutely loving. Thank you everyone for being here and tuning in. We've got a really special one for you today. We are about to share with you our interview with Trey Anthony, pronouns she, her, the author of Black Girl in Love with Herself, and an amazing all-around fantastic human.
Yeah, she was so much fun to talk to. And it was really funny because I listened to the audiobook. And
Yeah.
I felt like I had already been talking to her for a while. It was just a one-sided conversation.
Oh,
So that was a really cool experience. So highly recommend the audiobook. If after this interview, you're like, I gotta go read this. The audiobook was great. And like she said, it comes with some extra materials, some behind the scenes. She interviews her mother and sister, who she does talk about a lot
yes.
in the book. Yeah, because our families totally influence our journey. So yeah.
Yep. And I did find it really interesting. You know, she really, really went on a journey with her mother. I
Yeah.
mean, it was not all just roses and apples and things were just wonderful.
Rainbows
I mean,
and
she
sunshine.
said, you know, I learned a lot and it was really hard for me, you know, that she had felt kind of abandoned at one point and she learned a lot about that. And then I just think it's really beautiful that, you know, she's able to come back and look back and self-reflect on what having that mother taught her, but then also, you know, continue to grow the relationship that they have as adults. So much so that she goes into a lot of detail about the relationship in the book, personal stuff about her relationship with her mom, and then she interviews her at the end of the audiobook. I love it. I think that's a great supportive parent, and I think that's a beautiful thing. We do touch on this in the episode, but this was also exciting for us because I mean, a while back, I hadn't even moved yet. So when the podcast was just kind of getting up and running, you know, we had already heard from a fan/listener who had a suggestion for someone we should bring on. And that was special for us to make happen.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like, you've got to interview Trey Anthony. She's got this amazing book coming out, published by Hay House. Like it's just really, really cool. And reading the book was really awesome. Like I enjoyed it fully. Like it was such a cool thing. And each chapter starts with like a song recommendation.
Yeah, it's a really unique book.
Yeah. And every chapter, like as you're learning about her journey, she also is sharing kind of some worksheets at the end of each chapter and affirmations. You know how much we like affirmations. So
yeah,
we were really thrilled to see like, oh my gosh, you're not just like learning how she's gone through these things, but you're also getting the chance to like reflect on your own life and, you know, have an action to take from this book, because all too often we'll read something and do nothing with it. So
yeah, she was really good about that. Trey works with women as a coach doing, you know, self-growth work, and you can that definitely comes out. I know one of the exercises is, you know, how to evaluate and rate your friendships and your relationships in your life. So it's definitely, you know, a meaningful experience. I highly recommend grabbing it today. I read it. Claire read it. We both have, I think both, you know, do what's good for you.
Do what
I
you
really
like to
enjoyed reading it. I loved having her on. You know, I think we went into some territory that, you know, perhaps she doesn't always go in on her interviews. I mean, we even talked about what are the cooking boxes that you get? Is it blue
like
ribbon or
on it?
Yeah. I thought that was really fun. You know, we got really specific as to how she has enjoyed the single life after really not expecting to be single right now.
Yeah, because most of this book, I mean, we led in with her relationships with her family members, but this book was really like informed by her breakup. And it's interesting. We'll talk about it in the interview, but it was not supposed to be about a breakup. It was supposed to be about how to find and manifest a wonderful relationship. And she got the book deal, and then the relationship ended very suddenly. We'll get into the details, but that I think is what made her such, like such an obvious yes to interview on this podcast. So I think you guys are going to really love it. You're going to really relate to a lot of the things that she talks about, and also like the healing that she has done is going to inspire you. So I think so excited.
Well. And if you do love it, please leave us a review on Apple. Send us a screenshot in a DM of your review, and we are going to send you something in the mail to say thank you.
A little stick or something.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get on to our interview with Trey Anthony. Welcome, Trey Anthony, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really exciting as a newish podcast to, have someone like you on that we to speak with. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
We are too. And I guess we might as well mention that we became familiar with Trey's work because one of our listeners reached out and said, you've got to interview this woman. She's amazing. She would be perfect. And we did. And now you're here. So shout out to listener Janice. Same name as mine. Yes.
Listener Janice.
Thank you. Never happens. I never meet anyone else named Janice. And yep, she's definitely a loyal and beautiful fan. And yeah, hey girl.
Hey Janice.
Oh, she's going to be so excited that you gave her a shout out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Claire and I are both fans of the book.
Yes. Black girl in love with herself. So good. I loved it. So yeah, thank you for writing it and putting it out in the world, especially like with the year that everyone's just had.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Which definitely was touched on. And as anyone who will read the book is probably curious about, Trey, would you be willing and comfortable giving us some background about your breakup story that is very much alluded to in the book? But, we wouldn't mind a few more details if you're comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I was in what I thought was a committed long-term relationship. I had been with my partner for 4 years. And before that, we had been friends for about 3 years. So I had known her for a good 7 years of my life, right? Mm-hmm. And we were in the process of adopting. We were 2 years into the process. And we had just moved into a brand new condo together. So I had sold my house and she had sold her house. And we just kind of said, okay, let's get together and bring our lives together and, get this wonderful 2-bedroom apartment so we can have a baby. And I'll cut out some of the little details just
you don't have
because
to.
I don't want to get sued. But, what ended up happening, I ended up getting a text. Yeah. Everybody keeps going, what? But yes, a text.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a Post-it note, right?
No, it wasn't a Post-it note.
Oh my gosh, it's that thing.
Yeah, I got a text stating, I no longer want to do this. And it really came out of the blue. Like, I really got to say that. Like, as I said, we had just moved into a brand new apartment less than 4 weeks before. And I had a 2-week-old brand new baby at home that I had adopted. And I was given 12 days to move out of the apartment. Oh. And we were about to go into a pandemic. And because I'm an artist and I do a lot of stuff like around like live shows, film and TV, I write for television as well. All of my gigs were being canceled left, right, and center because of the pandemic. And I found myself pretty much quote unquote homeless with a 2-week-old baby, really trying to pull my life together of this bomb that had fallen onto my life.
Yeah.
And just grieving a relationship and really scared because at that point in time, no one knew how long this pandemic was going to happen. And I moved now from a really high income to income high household to really just worried about what I was going to be able to do financially because, I had now a newborn baby to take care of. And so I was devastated. So where I start the book,
Yeah.
is I start the book saying I was on the bathroom floor. And this is the irony of it, which was so hilarious to so many people, is just before all of this happened, I had gotten a book deal with Hay House. And the premise of the book deal was for me to talk about how I'd manifested this wonderful relationship.
Right. Oh my God.
Isn't that just life?
But so I one quick question. If she broke up with you by text, did you then, I mean, you would have seen her after, right? If you had to pack
I saw
up.
her once.
Oh my
During
God.
once.
That is
Once.
wild.
Once.
Oh, talk about a
Once.
like
Once.
see ya.
I saw her once after that. And that conversation looked as if we were about to reconcile and get back. And so I was really hopeful.
Oh.
And then I got another message basically saying, nah, I'm good.
Oh my God. Oh, that's
and
the
that
worst
conversation,
feeling.
when I saw her once after that, lasted for a good 7 hours. We were in each other's company for 7 to 8 hours. And that's why I was really hopeful that we were going to work this back out. And then the next day, I was hit with this message saying, no, I thought about it and I'm good. And that was the end. I've never spoken to her since. I was blocked on all social medias, everything. Like, it was just horrid. Like, it really was one of the worst things I've ever gone through in my life. Because you think you know someone and then you just realize that you just don't. And for me, I've always had really great friendships with all of my exes.
Oh,
and all of them are in my lives.
Okay.
In my life. So I just never had experienced something this cruel.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty extreme, I have to say. I mean,
Yeah.
we hear things all over the place, and that's pretty cold.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced anything like this. So for me, it was really shocking. And as I said before, I had gotten this book deal with Hay House.
Yeah.
And we had always been this couple on social media where people would put hashtag couple goals, hashtag black love, hashtag all of this. And so they were like, oh, write a book about how you, because I always told people how I manifested this amazing relationship, how I wrote this list and this wonderful person walked into my life and she was everything. And I really was a big believer in it. And so the book was really about giving advice of how to have a wonderful and healthy relationship and how to manifest a wonderful relationship.
Oh my God, talk about salt on an open wound.
Yeah.
Oof.
And it was 5 months before my book was due to the editor. This happened. And I was just like, I can't write this book. Like, I would feel like such a fraud. How can I give relationship advice to women when I missed the tsunami, what was hitting my own relationship? So I was just like, I can't. And so that is when the editor said to me, then what book can you write? And that's how Black Girl in Love with Herself came about, because I realized for me that because I was so invested in the image and the possibility of having this amazing relationship, I ignored a lot of red flags that told me something different was going on in my household. And, after the fact, I found out a lot of things that now start to add up and I go, oh, okay, this is what this was about. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things, like, building off of that, first of all, I'm so sorry. That is really above sucks. And beyond, like, no breakup is fun. But especially if you've had a place of maturity with other past partners where you're like, okay, we can work this out, we can be friends, like, you can still be in my life, to have someone you were adopting a baby with, just moved in, that, I feel for you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that Black Girl in Love came out of it. But one of the things you talk about in the book is, like, how the life that you pictured and expected, and you just said, like, you were so attached to what it, like, could be and what it seemed to be, reconciling that image with what is now, like, the new reality, that can be really hard for people in a breakup. Can you talk about, like, how you've gotten to a place of reconciling those two different worlds, basically?
Yeah, it's funny because it's something that I feel that I'm still working through, right? Like it's been less than 2 years. But I think when I come to those days and moments when I'm feeling really down about it, and I always say, no, what you thought you had really wasn't the reality. So you're missing the life that you thought you were going to have, but not the reality of who she was. And that also makes me then have some level of comfort around it, because I just feel as if there was a total misrepresentation. And now I'm knowing the true person who I was with. And so I keep reminding myself, I say, you're mourning who you thought that person was.
Yes.
And so the reality of this person, you really should not be mourning or missing. And that's what you have to deal with right now. And I think a lot of times when we do go through breakups, we romanticize what the relationship was. And we romanticize who the person was and the life you were going to have. And for me, I've really taken time to really sit with, is this true? Or is this a fantasy that I made up in my head? And I know, I would say 80% of it was a fantasy. Like it really was a fantasy. And I refused to, deal with the reality of who I was with. And that's when, the universe was like, okay, we're gonna make you see this because you don't want to.
So you're saying whilst you were together, you didn't see it, you made yourself not look?
I know I saw a lot of things that made me realize that this person wasn't, I think, my grandmother always says, and I talk about my grandmother in the book.
Yeah, I know, we love her.
Right? That never believe that you're the exception to the rule, right? Like how you see someone treat someone else, never believe you are the exception to that. Right?
That comes up in our coaching a lot. And I have to tell my clients that, like, this happens to everyone, or, this is, you are not the special scenario or case here.
Yeah. Like an example is like, you're dating someone new and they're bad mouthing all of their exes.
That is a good
That's
example.
Gonna be you. Like you're gonna be in the list.
Or when someone says their ex was crazy.
All crazy.
Biggest red flag.
Ex is crazy and they have no contact with any of their exes. That's the biggest red flag. And I ignored that.
You heard it here.
Oh, yeah. I was like, no, of course they're crazy. And now I've become the crazy ex, right?
Oh.
So I think that's a huge flag. And there were just some things that I saw of, of bad mouthing exes just not ending well with people in general.
Right. Yeah, that is a good sign. So do you stay in touch with her now? And would you want to?
Not at all.
Okay, because this comes up all the time on the show, in our community with our clients, of people like eventually not wanting to completely cut ties, regardless of how bad it was. So I love that you're saying in your case, no.
Not at all. Not at all. I think for me, it really was I did a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy. I really did a lot of research on narcissistic behavior and narcissistic abuse. And one of the things that they really, and I was totally unaware about these kind of situations. And one of the things that they totally recommend, and it was something for me that I had to do, was going no contact. And I just had to do that. And like I said, I had not had an experience of that. Like even to this day, my ex, my other ex, not the one I'm talking about now, is godmother, her partner and her are godmother to my son, right? My other ex, I'm really good friends with her and, we're great friends. She just came down and visited a couple of weeks ago. So I didn't have this experience of ending badly with exes. It was totally the opposite, Yeah. And so even my mother used to joke and be like, I feel like you guys are all sister wives because I don't know how to get along.
Oh, that's cute. Sister wives.
People. Yeah. But this ex, I think when someone is this cruel and has shown that they do not care, they just don't care about you in your lowest and weakest moments, why would you want to be friends with someone like that?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I wouldn't choose you as a friend.
Yes.
Because it's cruel behavior. And there's a difference of when someone hurts you and says they don't want to be with you. But when somebody is cruel to the point of being dismissive.
That is,
no, I don't need that. I don't
Good for you.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. And I think too, as women, sometimes, we're taught that, be nice, when everybody
men do it too.
Friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm just like, no, not everybody. Not everyone deserves to be your friend.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for telling us about that. That is really intense. And I really think that our listeners specifically are definitely going to benefit from hearing about that and the way that you went about it. So yes, thank you so much. And also I love that you gave a bunch of details that weren't in the book. I feel like we're gossiping and like girl talk. And there's part of the book that is kind of related, and it's one of the passages that I kind of wanted to read and get your feedback on. Yes. And everyone, she doesn't know I'm about to read this, so Trey's on the hot seat. All right. No one owes you an explanation of why they stopped loving you. And yes, it will hurt. It will hurt like hell. But the only way you will truly heal is if you have enough love for yourself. And you understand that you didn't give them the job of loving you. While they were loving you, you were also busy loving yourself. And most importantly, you must know how to love yourself when they are gone. Never give away the power to love yourself or love yourself correctly. Teach people how to love you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wrote that?
That's amazing. Pretty good. It's definitely gorgeous. So yes, just as far as, people not owing, one another an explanation, maybe just, what more can you say about that? This is especially important, for people who are listening because of a breakup.
Yeah, I think for many months and months on top of months, and maybe even for a good year, I kept wanting to have an explanation. Like I really wanted for my ex to sit down with me and say, these are the reasons why I can no longer do this. And I wasn't granted that. Yeah. And I then one day I just sat and said, I'm not going to get the closure that I think that I need. And I'm going to have to accept that this is what it is. It's over. You're not going to get an explanation of why. And she doesn't owe you anything. Even as much as you feel she owes you anything, she doesn't feel she owes you anything. So let her be. And then I also recognize, and this is a theme that runs through the book, is one of the reasons I was so devastated about this breakup was because I had given so much of myself to this relationship, to the point that I got lost, that I didn't know what things made me happy. I didn't know that I was deserving of kind of like some kind of reciprocal emotional investment. And I just gave and gave and gave and gave. Yeah. And then I was so invested in her loving me. So when she left, I was kind of like, whoa, that must mean that I'm unlovable because
I gave so much.
Because I gave so much, and yet it still wasn't enough, and you still walked out the door. And so that is what I realized. I saw this meme once where it said, can you imagine if you loved people, you loved yourself the same way you loved people, who would you be? And that really hit home to me because I recognized I did that with friends, I did that with family, I did that with partners, where I gave so much and I expected nothing in return. And I realized, no, I have to start loving myself in the same kind of passion that I give to other people. Yeah. And also know and believe that I'm worthy of a kind and tender love, right? And I think for a lot of us who have not had the most idyllic childhoods, or, a lot of our emotional needs haven't been met, I think we don't realize how often the little girl in us show up in grown relationships. And I think for me, that little girl that showed up for me all of the time was love me, love me, love me, because I was separated from my mother for many years. Yeah. And I always felt this kind of abandonment issue about, well, if my mother left, then there must be something wrong with me. So I always picked people who I wanted them to kind of just pick me, choose me. And so when they didn't, I was devastated. And so I had to do a lot of healing and sit with that and be like, you're not the 8-year-old Trey being left behind anymore. And you can also protect her, and you can heal her, and you can love her. And guess what? You can show up for her. Maybe no one else will show up, but you can show up for her.
You can. What do you say in the book? Put on your good perfume, put on your fancy panties, and oh, thank you so much. This also is important because this idea of getting closure is something that comes up in our community a lot. Huge. People ask about it a lot, and we're always like, you're not gonna get it. So you heard it again. You heard it.
You heard it again.
And I think that is what keeps a lot of us stuck. And for me, like I'm being really honest, I was stuck there for months on top of months, just being like, if I could just get that one conversation, I could move on. And I realized it just wasn't healthy. Like I was just like, you've just got to accept it. And what really helped me, and I don't know if it will help your listeners, is I wrote this letter and I wrote everything that I needed to say. And then I burnt it. And then I took the ashes and I put it in this little kind of like ravine. And I just threw that. And I was just like, there's your closure. But I wrote everything that I needed to say.
You gave it to yourself.
And I gave it to myself. And I just said, now I'm done. I don't need you to tell me anything more. And I think too, people's lack of words and lack of actions will tell you everything you need to know of what value you were to them.
I mean, no answer is an answer sometimes.
Thank you. Also, like, clearly, by the way, you know, your ex acted, and then generally, like, with our listeners, the way their ex acted, like they did something that didn't make sense to you. So their explanation, if you get an explanation, might not even make sense to you because you're like, everything was fine. Like I was very happy. I don't know what you're talking about. So like, you know, even if you get that like quote closure conversation, you are the only person who can fully accept that something has ended, and it doesn't have anything to do with being told a reason or anything like that. As hard as that is, you know, we like stories. Like you're a playwright. Like there's a beginning, middle, and end. There's things are tied up. But sometimes in life there's not an ending sometimes or like a you just the season ended and they didn't renew, and you're like, there's so many plot holes that haven't been filled. I don't know.
It's true. It's so true. Definitely. Yes.
Well, you know, you mentioned your relationship with your mom and with friends, and like, you know, giving the love to yourself in that respect. And I loved in the book how you talked about these different relationships and how, you know, it's not just like a romantic relationship where you can find support, but also like a lack of support in some ways, in some areas. And we talk a lot about choosing, like, there's the friend who's really great for going out and distracting you, but she's not so great for the heart to heart. And you really, really talked about this in the book.
I was so excited about that when I read it.
Yeah. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about like kind of the realizations there?
Some of the realizations that I found in this breakup was like people who I thought were going to show up didn't show up.
Right. Yeah.
And then there were friends I had a friend who was all the way in Wales, who got on a plane and flew to Atlanta to be with me and stayed for nearly a month because she was so just shocked. And she knew I was in the worst state ever, you know? And so that was really important to me, to have a friend who just said to me, I think you need to cry about this more. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to act like you have all of the answers. This is devastating, what has happened to you. And I think because I've always been that type of person, and I talk about this too, about also, especially as a Black woman, there's that whole thing of like the strong Black woman. And so I was trying to be really strong. And I kept thinking, you know, I have this newborn baby who's counting on me. I need to pull it all together. And I just felt so weak. And I think a lot of times as women, we really need to evaluate our friendship circle, right? And take a look at our friends and really see, will these be the people who will show up when you really need them? Because there are some friends who are just there for the good time.
Right.
There are some friends who have been there because you went to high school with them, but you really had nothing in common with them anymore. There are some friends who are there for the drama in your relationship because maybe you're the couple who provided the drama, right? So you have to look at that. And there are some friends who are just there for the good times, and you can't have that emotional connection and security. And for me, I really had to do that evaluation and say, this is the kind of friendship that I need right now. These are the friends that I want, because I'm at my lowest and I have nothing left to give, like nothing. And so I know they always say friendships and relationships are 50-50. No, there are some times, and I will definitely say during this breakup, I was giving nothing to my friendship. Right? It was all about me, and they knew it. And they were just like, you would have done the same for us, and we're going to show up for you like that. You know, I had friends who sent me money because they knew that I was really concerned about things financially. There were friends who sent me diapers, you know, and those things you never forget. And I was really fortunate that I had cultivated maybe about 5 really good people who showed up in ways that I could not have ever imagined from my friends.
And so now, you know, with the other friendships and relationships, do you kind of just see them for what they are? Did you, you know, take steps to step away from people? You know, what has, looking back now, has it changed the way that you operate with the other people?
Yeah, I think for me, I used to use the word friend interchangeably with everybody in my life who I kind of knew, and who I, you know, would be like, hey, what's up, girl? And they'd be like, oh, that's my friend. And I was like, you know, my little nephew who's like 7, he will go to the park and meet somebody and be like, oh, this is my new friend, right? And I felt like I hadn't lost that everybody was my friend at some point. And I realized that you have to make distinctions between who are your friends, who are your associates, who are people that you work with, who are people who you used to go to high school with and hang out with, people who you wouldn't mind grabbing a drink on a patio with. They are not necessarily your friends, right? And I think that was something that I really learned in this, of like, who should I give that label to? And not everybody is worthy of that. And that's okay. You can have associates. You can be like, oh, that's my girl I hang out with sometimes. But that doesn't mean she's your friend.
Yeah, that's really confident of you. I like that a lot. Claire, you're my friend.
Right? Thanks, Janice.
And that's the thing. And even in the book, Black Girl in Love with Herself, at the end of the chapter on friends, I give you this evaluation thing for you to do and assess, you know, where do these people fit into your life, you know, and have you been using the word friend and you really don't have anything in common, you know? So that is something that I think you should really take a look at.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes it's your friend in Wales who, you know, you hardly see, who flies in, you know, to support you emotionally. Whereas like someone maybe you saw every week is not there for you in that way. Yeah. And so it doesn't, you know, you have friends that you can like pick up where you left off, and others that even if you see them all the time, you don't know them in the same way. Yeah. So that's a really good point.
You also talked about, I really liked the part where you also said, be careful who you go to for relationship advice.
Oh, yes.
And that's something I'm also often trying to help clients with is, I mean, for instance, we did an episode recently on crushes. And, you know, I said, you know, if you're trying to get over a crush, don't necessarily go to your girlfriends because they're going to hype you up. You know, they're going to tell you guys are meant to be hot together. And, you know, so actually you were saying in the book that you should actually be a little withholding when it comes to relationship drama. And okay, can you tell our listeners about that?
I said, you know, in the book, I gave the example, and this is like with clients that I have worked with, you know, where I've said to them, people will counsel you from where they are, not necessarily of what is good for you. And I give the example in the book of like, you could be in a relationship and you could say to this person, one of your friends, you could be like, oh my goodness, I think my partner's drinking too much and I don't know if I want to be with that person, right? A person who's single may say, no, girl, you don't need somebody like that. They probably, you know, they're an alcoholic. Who wants to get married to an alcoholic? Leave them alone, right? And you know what happened with me and my ex, right? And he had a drinking problem, right?
Yeah.
And then you could go to and present the exact same scenario to another friend who's been in a long-term relationship, who's one of those people who will go through hell and fire to keep her relationship. And she'll be like, oh, I think maybe you're over exaggerating. You know, I've never seen him drink that much. It's okay. And, you know, it's hard out there to find a good man. So you just, you know, hang on in there. I don't see anything wrong in that. And who's wrong and who's right? But nobody has said to you, what do you want? Like, what do you need? And so that is what I found, that people will counsel you from whatever their experience is, not necessarily what you need at that given time. Yeah. And also, I gave the example in the book of a relationship that I was in previous to my relationship with my ex, where I said, I realized we had become the couple where everybody weighed in on our problems, right? And everybody had an opinion, and I would go to my camp, she would go to her camp, and we would come back. And a lot of times we had differences of opinion of who was wrong and who was right. And we just never could come together because we had to do this jury of everybody weighing in on our relationship. And I think, as I said in the book, I really felt our relationship could have worked if we had decided to work things out between us and privately. And I will say this, my younger sister has been with her husband since high school. Okay. And they're married and they have my nephew, and my sister right now is pregnant with twins, right? And one of the things that she said to me, and they've been together over 15 years, and it's the truth. She says, I will never badmouth my husband to anyone in this family. And she said, because once we've made up, you guys already have an impression of who he is and what he is. And she goes, you work it out together. And if you can't work it out together, you then go to therapy. But she goes, I will not go to any of you guys of how to deal with my marriage, because number one, none of you guys have a healthy marriage.
There you go.
Don't take advice from people who don't have the life.
Point, actually.
Like, she has had the longest relationship out of anybody in our family.
Wow,
and I
there
have never heard her husband badmouth each other, you know?
Yeah.
So
no, that's so
I
true.
think that's really good advice. It's just keep it amongst yourself. And that's not saying that, you know, you can't go to a friend once in a while, but I think you need to be very cautious if that's the only person you're talking to and you're not talking to your partner about problems in your relationship first.
Yeah, because I mean, your family loves and cares about you. They want the best for you. And if you share something that has bothered you about a partner, like, they're going to hold it against them a little bit. Yes. They're like, hey, I got to protect my girl. But also, like, you know, how people give you advice from their own vantage point. That's so human. We all want to justify our own choices. And if they can convince you that what they would choose in that situation is what you should choose too, then it makes them feel like they're doing life okay. Everyone's just figuring it out anyway. But you know, if you can feel like, oh, well, they would have done this too. So, okay, we're I'm making the right choice as well. But you know, it's not your friend dating your partner. It's you. It's these two people, or, you know, we did an episode on polyamory as well, like, or 3 people, or however many, but
whoever it is,
you know, like, keep it, you know, you are like the super complex individual made up of every second of your own existence that, like, you can't possibly explain where you're coming from to someone.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much. The whole friend thing comes into play a lot during breakup. So I was just so thrilled that you went into that, because I've mentioned it so many times. All right, so let's get into the self-love parts. So it was really beautiful the way that you discussed your grandma and looking back on her life and how you felt that, correct me if I'm wrong, but sort of you wanted to do better by yourself than maybe she had done to herself, or that she had been able to, because you saw how her lack of self-care had kind of had weighed on her. And then of course your journey to, as I said, the daily perfume, the panties, and your self-love journey. So I'd love you to touch on that. And then also, I think what I'm trying to get at is maybe, you know, like what is maybe a first step for someone who has, you know, no concept of this type of pampering yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think especially if you are going through any level of trauma, and a painful breakup is trauma, right? It is trauma. And I think for me, I really made a vow to be as tender and kind to myself as I needed to be. And I kept saying to myself, Trey, we are going to take care of you, right? And I would literally sometimes say it aloud. We are going to take care of you. And self-care looked like for me, and it was something that I had put on the back burner for myself for many years. You know, I write about this in the book where I realized how many baths I used to draw for all of my partners. I would set these lovely baths for them, and bubble baths and all of this. And I never once thought, it never entered my mind ever, and I'm kid you, to think, oh, I should set a bath for myself, right?
Oh, interesting.
Right? I never thought, because I thought that was very indulgent, or this is something that someone does for you if they love you. And that now has become a ritual for me, that at least once or twice a week, I take a bath instead of this rushed shower. And it's something that relaxes me, and I get lavender oils, and I get bubble bath, and I get bath bombs, and I sit in that. And that is really important for me, right? The other thing that I did was massage. I think especially when you're coming from a relationship and you're used to that contact, that physical contact, and even sexual contact, you miss hands on your body. And that was something that it took me a long time to be that vulnerable, to go, I miss touch. Right? Like I miss somebody just touching me, the physical aspect of someone just rubbing me. And I didn't want to jump into a relationship just because of that. But I do think a lot of us do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because we just want to be close to someone.
And they're not professional masseuses.
And so I was like, how can I get that physical touch that I'm desiring? And I realized for me, it was about massage, that I wanted tender hands on me. I wanted soft hands on me. And that really helped with that void for myself, right? The other thing I talk about is just sexual intimacy with yourself.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, go for it, girl.
Right?
We're big fans of that here.
Right? Like you have to, right? If you come from a relationship where you are having regular sex, you are going to miss that. And that was something that I had to recognize, go, wow, I need this in my life. So I got to figure out how to do this for my damn self, right? Because there's nobody else, right? So I talk about that in the book. It's okay to explore your own body. It's okay to be sensual with yourself and give yourself permission as a single woman to do those things, right? The other thing what was important to me was exercise and eating well. And, you know, especially because I was so used to cooking for two. I used to be the person who cooked the most in the relationship. I felt when my relationship ended, I didn't like just eating alone.
Yeah.
So that was something that I did as well, was around making sure that I had meals by myself and I was okay with that. And
how can you get started with that? That comes up a lot, actually. People not wanting to cook for just themselves, or not wanting to go out to eat alone. Both things that I'm comfortable with. I mean, I don't really like to cook, but it's not something I dread for myself. What do you think is a good starting point?
One of the easiest things for me was I ordered a meal box service, and they come in dinners. Most of them come with a recipe card for two. And so for me, because I had invested that money in it and it was coming to my house weekly, it forced me to cook because it was there. And I was like, I'm not going to spend all of this money for a meal service. And it also made me then also, one of the things that I wanted to do was become a better cook and learn new recipes. So I decided to do that, and I would cook the whole meal, and then I would have one for lunch and one for dinner. And that was something that really helped me because I felt like I was learning a new skill, and it was the way that I took care of myself. And I knew that I I would cook if I already had paid for it and I didn't want to watch the vegetables go bad in my fridge.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. What do you think, Claire?
I love it. Do it.
Yeah.
I think maybe one of our first sponsors should be one of these food box services that, you know, advertises on all the other podcasts.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
That was a huge thing for me, huge. And it was something that really changed my whole life, was around cooking for myself and being okay with that.
I love it. That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And especially like we just did an episode on breakup brain. So it's like decisions can be hard, you know, energy can just be hard. And so if you have like a meal box that comes and it's like, this is what you do, you chop this and you add it to this, and you're like, okay, someone's telling me what to do. I'll do the thing. You know, like I can imagine that would really help. Like
it really helps. And what I found, which I did not even realize, it became very therapeutic for me. Just the art of concentrating on a recipe, cutting up vegetables. It then took my mind away from, you know, all of the things that go through your mind when you're going through a painful breakup, right? So cooking really became this therapeutic thing for me to do for myself, and a very loving act. And it just really helped distress me and make me feel much more relaxed.
It's so like cool. A mindfulness, like
I hadn't thought of that.
You're focusing on each step and kind of the ASMR. This all happened. Like your story began. I mean, this chapter of your story began as the pandemic was kind of hitting. And your book deal changed from being about relationships to being about loving yourself and the relationship with yourself. And I don't think that was like the only thing that really changed. I think there was a part of the book where you were like, and that's where I stopped it in my first draft. But now, like, do you want to just talk about your experience with the, you know, like what you've learned over this crazy thing?
I think just dealing with my mental health and well-being was a huge thing. I think I didn't realize, and I mentioned this just before, of how much trauma a breakup can put you through. And I think a lot of times, you know, people will give you the advice of like, oh, well, just get over it, or just, you know, and I think when something is really traumatic and really cruel, and when you're also dealing with stuff during a pandemic where it really is playing with all of your sensibilities, I did not recognize for the longest time that I had fallen into a depression, and I did not know that, right? And so I kept referring to it as my breakup slump. Right. And I kept saying, oh, it's because, you know, I'm feeling really sad about, and yes, I was feeling sadness, but this was a different kind of sadness that I could not just walk away from. Like I said to people, the only way to describe it is like, I felt as if everything felt nearly 1,000 times harder to do. So something as, you know, like loading the dishwasher.
Yeah, like you're walking through mud or cement. I've had it a couple of times as well. And I've also...
And I kept thinking, oh, you know, it's because I'm going through a breakup and, you know, and this is what it is. And then I realized, you know, and it wasn't until I went to see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist said to me, 1, you're dealing with a breakup, like a traumatic breakup. 2, you are a brand new mother. 3, you're in a pandemic. 4, you just moved twice in 1 year, right?
Oh,
crazy. And 5, you're now worried about things financially. And he said, one of these things would have caused major stress in somebody. Why did you think 5 of these things you could handle by yourself? You know, and that is when I realized that, and he diagnosed me with severe depression. And I did not know that. And so that is something that I would really flag for any of your listeners. If you are going through a breakup, to be really aware of your mental health. And if it feels like it's a bit out of the ordinary, trust that. Because I didn't trust my own self, because I kept saying, oh, I'm going to get through this, or tomorrow I'm going to be better. And I promised myself I'm going to do more. And I just couldn't. Like, I just did not have the energy. I didn't have the clarity. And once I started taking medication, it felt as if I had been in this dark room and somebody had just automatically turned on a light that was just fluorescent.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So besides feeling like everything has become too hard, or just having a feeling like it shouldn't be so rough, is there, another tip or sign that you would suggest for someone who to know that it's time to seek outside support?
Yeah, I think, especially if you are feeling, if there's any things of like suicidal thoughts, if you are also feeling just like you're tired a lot, can't get out of bed, or the opposite for me is that my brain just wouldn't shut off. And I just was not sleeping. So I kind of went into this manic phase of like, I just wasn't sleeping for days on top of days. And my brain just would not turn off. So that's another thing. It could be also eating or not eating at all. And for me, the crying was a big thing. Like the crying, I just could not stop. And I mentioned it in the book where I was crying sometimes like 4 or 5 times a day. And it was just these huge outbursts of just like tears. And that was something that wasn't like me, and I knew that something else was going on, that it was not just the pain of this breakup. Like something had literally it felt like it snapped in me and I couldn't get back to my old self. Like I just couldn't.
Exactly. And like, I just encourage anyone who's like going like, well, maybe, but like, I'll be fine. It's just a hard time. The worst that can happen is you go to a therapist who tells you like, hey, this is normal. You're doing okay. Or you really help yourself feel better. Like I don't see any, I know it costs money. It, it takes time to find someone to see, but it's your life. Like, prioritize having a good experience. And if you're really, really in the depths of a funk or whatever you want to call it, to avoid calling it possibly depression, we don't want you to feel that way. We want you to feel happier and, to feel like life is worth living, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you actually found an online counselor, is that correct?
Yeah, because we were in the middle of the pandemic, right? So, nobody was seeing anybody.
Yeah.
And so I had to do everything online. And so I actually found a service which was like virtual, who basically you saw a psychiatrist. They also set you up with a counselor that you talk to once a month, and they mailed you your medication. And then you checked in with your psychiatrist every 3 months. And that's what I ended up doing through that. And it was one of the best things of my life that I truly, and I say this without any shame, I truly believe it saved my life. I truly do believe that, because I was in such a dark place when all of this happened. And I think if I did not seek that help, it could have gone really wrong.
And you ended up actually also kind of rewriting your story completely after as well.
Yeah. And for me, it was about, I didn't intend to write this book. And, all my friends joke now and they go, you know what? I think this is your Adele album. Right?
Yes.
Right? When Adele went through her breakup, and that album just saved everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would write a book about breakups and, how to recover from a breakup and love yourself, because that wasn't what I intended. I never thought I was going to be in a breakup. I thought I had met my person. And for me, I would not want to go through this again. Please do not get me wrong. Right? I would never want to go through this again.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad for the lessons that it taught me and the things that I learned about myself around resilience, around trusting your gut, knowing what you know, being okay to be by yourself.
Yes.
And know that you're not a failure. And that doesn't mean you're lonely. Alone doesn't mean that you're lonely. Being okay with my own company.
Yes.
Being okay to let go of that ridiculous checklist. And, we all know it of like, you meet your person at 30, you get married at 32.
Oh, forget it.
You have the kids at 33, you buy the house and all of that. And it just released me from that, because I was just like, well, that's gone.
Yeah.
That is gone. And now I'm way behind and I don't think I'm going to catch up. So it just made me just realize that I don't need to put myself under that pressure.
Yeah.
And it made me realize how lovable I can be if I'm truly invested in loving myself. And like I said in the book, make somebody catch you loving yourself. I think the biggest bag of garbage we've been sold is, and I think all of us can recite it. And, I love Shonda Rhimes, as I talk about her in the book, but that thing of like, pick me, I need you to choose me, right?
Yep.
All of us know that scene. And I think it's women that we've been told that someone needs to pick us for us to feel worthy. And I'm kind of like, you know what, girl, pick your damn self.
Yeah,
right?
Completely. Yay.
Pick yourself. And, like, especially spending time alone, living alone, it's scary. It's scary at first, but anything unknown is scary. And it's kind of like, if you trust yourself, I mean, it's happening. Like, if you're going through a breakup, it's happening. You might as well lean in. But you'll start to realize, you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Like, this is, I can do this, and it really, I think it helps down the road, because it gives you that, like, take it or leave it attitude. You're like, I'm perfectly fine taking care of myself. Like, you better add something to my life.
You better add something. And that's what I realized. I've gotten to such a place of like, I know that I'm pretty okay being by myself. Like, I'm great, actually.
Yeah.
So the next person who comes into my life, you better be bringing something of real value, because I'm not expecting you to see me and be and tell me I'm valuable. I already know that. So you better be bringing something to my life to add to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Other than telling me I'm valuable. Yeah. Because it's like, duh.
I already know that. Like, I know I'm a damn good catch. Right?
Yeah.
Amazing. We think you are as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been such an amazing interview. You are just, I mean, I knew that you were going to be really fun to talk to.
Yeah, can we hang out?
Yeah.
Can we be friends?
Yes, completely.
Yeah, friends. Yeah, I want to give you time to, like, hype your book and tell everyone to go buy the damn book. I just wanted to say, like, I was listening to your interview with the Support is Sexy podcast with Lane Fluker. Sorry, I'm like tripping over my words.
She just loves this so much. She's speechless. We're speechless, Trey.
I'm like really excited. I think it was on that interview that you shared, a male friend of yours like called you up and was like, I've been listening to the audiobook and I love it. And like, yes, you're saying girl and, speaking to a feminine, but he's like, I was right there with you. And I just like loved that, because I think it really did transcend gender identification and race. And I just want anyone who's listening, like, don't feel like you can't enjoy this and get something from it. Like, no matter who you are, like, it's really good.
It's an amazing story. And I think it's really great now that we're on the tail end of the pandemic to be sitting and actually reading a book about it already. It really made me feel like I was in it, or just, I don't know, it did something to my experience of reading it.
Yes. And I truly think, like, I've had friends and, different people who have said to me, well, I'm a white girl. Can I read A Black Girl in Love with Myself? Or, I'm straight. Will I be able to relate to some of the stories? Or I'm a male. And I truly believe when you write from a place of authenticity and truth and vulnerability, people will find themselves in the story. And that is one of the things that I've loved about a lot of the reviews from Black Girl in Love with Myself. They a lot of times, if you read the Amazon reviews, they were like, I don't think I was her intended audience, but I love the book.
That's so sweet.
And I think that's just really important, because I think if there's one thing we all can relate to, is all of us knows what it feels like to feel rejection. All of us knows what it feels to feel hurt and disillusioned and unlovable. And that will transcend everything, because you go to that emotion and we all can relate to that. We've all had a moment in our lives where someone didn't pick us and it made us feel crappy and like shit, right? And so that's where I feel this book is in that of just reclaiming yourself and knowing that you're going to be good. And when you get to the other side of it, and I know, because I remember when people were telling me this, I was like, no.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. Like,
I'll never get over this. I'll always be
never.
thinking about them.
Yeah. When you get to the other side, you're going to actually laugh. You're going to actually laugh, and you're going to feel really better, and you're going to feel stronger. But I said to every person, I said, I didn't even say do day by day. For me, sometimes literally when I was going through this, I was like, Trey, get through the hour. Just get through this hour. And if you can get through this hour, you're going to go to the next hour. And that really just helped me. It was just like, I'm going to take it hour by hour, because day by day felt way too much for me. Yeah.
Good point.
That was really good.
Oh, thank you for the gift of the book. It is called Black Girl in Love with Herself by Trey Anthony. And from what you were telling us earlier, you are going to start doing writing classes as well?
Yes, I've been doing, I had been doing writing classes for so many years. But during the pandemic, I stopped, and now I'm starting back up.
Oh, teaching them.
Doing a master class on Black Girl in Love with Herself for any woman who's about self-love. So I'm doing that kind of stuff. And those are the things that I'm working on, and just helping women to just be better about loving themselves and, claiming themselves and choosing themselves. Yeah. So you could get all of that information on my website, or reach out to me at treyanthony.com as well. And follow me on Instagram, Black Girl in Love. I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a really cool Instagram, everyone. Obviously, we'll link everything. Oh, I was going to say, so I bought my book on Amazon as well. I hope that that's okay, because you mentioned Amazon. So is that the best place to get the book? Okay, cool.
Yes, you can get it Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that books are being sold. The audio book is also available on Audible.
That's where I got
the Audible book has a bonus interview with my mom and sister, which everybody really loves and adores.
Yeah. So that is very interesting, because you really did examine the relationship between you and your mom quite a bit. And so it's pretty cool that then she came back and actually, gave some feedback probably about the book. And wow, that's beautiful. Yes. Very cool. Yeah, get the ebook or the audio book.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And, I've already I got my hair cut yesterday, and I was like, you got to read this book. I'm already recommending it to everyone. So
Thank you.
Go get the book. And we're just so glad that we got the chance to talk to you and have this conversation. And we hope you have a great rest of your year. We know it's just gonna keep getting bigger and better, right?
Yeah, I can imagine so.
And I know so. Thank you ever so
great.
much.
I know everyone's gonna benefit so much from this. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who listened. You know that we love our audience. Thank you for being here. Let us know what you thought, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to X-Files, a podcast about breakups, broken hearts, and moving on.
If you like this episode, tag us on your Instagram story so we can connect with you.
And you can find me, Claire, on Instagram at Claire Lofthouse.
And me, Janice, on Instagram at Janice Formicella. If you'd like to join our online community, find us on Facebook at Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On.
And here's a preview of our next episode.
If someone broke up with you, you're dealing with the rejection. But if you ended things, you could also be experiencing lower confidence because you're disappointed in it not working out. You might feel like you can't make a relationship work. You might feel like you really want love in your life, but you don't have it. And all of these things chip away at the confidence as well.
I struggled with when I broke up with my ex-fiance was trusting my decision and trusting that I made the right decision.
Yes.
And I wasn't just this lunatic out here, letting a great guy go.
Right.
For no reason, So that was where my confidence was. I'm like, can I trust my observations? That really eats at your confidence if you can't trust the decisions that you make.